Hello everybody, Lucen0 here. Glad to see you all back. For today's video, this is going to be the last part of who you should be playing in Marvel Rivals based off your paladins main. So yeah, sorry this take a little bit longer to get out, but here we go in. First off is going to be Ashe. Ashe unfortunately doesn't have like the perfect person that matches up with them. There's no one that really has like a long range splash AoE hit. However, for characters that kind of have to like send the point, set up like a little bit shield, and do poke damage bit by bit, I'd have to say that would be Penny Parker. Just because Penny Parker, she can put a deployable out that heals herself and also damages enemies. And with her primary fire, she kind of just constantly pokes out and does damage over time with it. And they're both pretty sustainable with that. Next off is going to be Atlas. With Atlas here, your best shot is to be going for Venom, just because they both do like sustaining damage throughout the fight, and Venom doesn't really have as much CC as Atlas. Like he has a slow with like his, I forget what the ability's called, is when all the tendrils go out like in a radius around him. But what I associate him with Atlas is the fact that when he gets really low, he can pop a shield that gives him like a whole bunch of health toward health he is, which just kind of reminds me of Atlas's rewind. You can go in, fight really aggressively, and rewind all that health back. Basically imagine getting the health, but without displacing yourself. After that, it's going to be Azan. With Azan, I feel like he works a lot better in the Thor category. They're both people, kind of hammers. Thor doesn't shoot the hammers out, he has electric range ability for that. They also can both push people out with like their dashes and just kind of sustain out through the fight. Their passives, Thor can get some overshield whenever he uses a move, kind of like how Azan consumes his ire. They both have a big ultimate that has them go in the air and do damage slamming down. Thor will do more damage on the slam and also damage while he's in the air charging it. However, it's not as fast as Azan, nor does it bring him to a different location. It's just him jumping up and down. Next up is going to be someone that I kind of find funny. It's Barrik. For Barrik, I believe your best shot is going to be either Penny Parker. As Penny Parker, you can set up the turret, like I said, and mines, just like how Barrik, you can set up his turret. Because Penny Parker's turret heals her and also has a whole range, and the little spider mines only can do damage to people nearby it. But I'd say also, you can go with Groot. Groot sets up walls that hit whoever he hits as long as they're near the walls. So they both kind of have that ability of setting up damage, protecting down the point. You basically can block off little areas. Imagine if Barrick's, instead of the default turret that shoots out damage, it's like the flamethrower ones where it does a little bit more damage but it has to be close. But either or, Penny or Groot works. Groot's a little bit more sustainable but short range. Penny takes a little bit more setup, I'd say. But I'll keep them in the Groot category for right now. I also wanted to add this part to the Barrik section, that if you like having turrets that straight up shoot towards people, you can also play Namor. Namor can place out two like octopus turrets. They don't stay infinitely, but you can almost throw them out like off cooldown as long as you manage them properly, and they hit automatically. But they also can focus who you want them to focus if you use one of your abilities, and if you get headshots with Namor, it'll make them get in range and do even more damage. So that's a possibility if you want to play Barrik, but with even more aggressive playstyle. He also kind of has a harpoon like Dredge. Next up is going to be Fernando. Fernando goes very easily in the Doctor Strange category. They both have shields on demand, really big shields to help protect their team. They both do a good amount of damage. Doctor Strange also has like a really bursty move depending on how much he hits people. And on top of that, they both have ultimates that can help stall out the fight. Doctor Strange, it stalls out by kind of freezing the enemy team and allowing you to do damage to them. So it's not perfect. Fernando just immortality, but it's something. Their identity is as someone who can be on the point and hold things off and or push up with their damage. It matches Fernando's vibes very well. Next up is going to be Inara, and funny enough, her whole plant ground wall identity perfectly matches up with Groot. Groot, however, does not have a slow kind of normal in his kit like Inara's warding field. However, he can place 3 walls. They're, you can't pass through them, neither can an enemy. But imagine if Inara's walls can hit people. That's what Groot does. Walls only target who he targets, and they have to be pretty close to it. But since you can place, I think it's 2 regular walls and 1 healing wall, it helps him out a lot. Groot also can gain a lot of more over health with whenever he's nearby the Ironwood wall, I believe it's called. it can heal him up a lot more depending on when he shoots or his allies shoot, and he can go all the way up to around like 1000 HP, I believe. Next up is going to be Nyx. Nyx doesn't have too many options for characters that match up with her more, just because she's a character that has area damage around her, melee, CC. Initially, I like to go with Venom, just because they're both damage characters that can either stay on the point, but they like going in the back line and can have like this AoE effect around them. Venom with this one initial ability that slows. They also have ultimates that give them more health when they hit people or when they're in a bigger fight they want to be using. But also, if you want to play a more defensive playstyle with Nyx, you can go Groot. Groot has that overshield mechanic when it comes with people that are shooting whenever they're near his walls, and also his walls can do damage to characters. It's kind of like how Nyx, you need to put an area range around them. Groot, when he's playing, can set up shields around him, and that'll allow him to do more damage to people near the shields and him. It's kind of give or take, but just for the general playstyle of, hey, I'm a big aggressive person punching nearby. Tanky, I'm going to go for Venom, but Groot also works well. Next up is going to be Makoa, and unfortunately for Makoa, there's not really a tank with a hook ability. If you want to go for the identity of, hey, I'm a big tank, I'm doing sustain on the point or in their backline, bothering them, you can go for Hulk. Hulk has a big HP pool, he has melee damage, he pushes people around. He can, I think it's called Mobilize or Banishment with one of his abilities, and it can stop a person, keep them in place. I don't think they can get damaged by other people, but it's a good like, hey, you're stopped, I'm gonna beat you up now. And Hulk's ultimate makes him go really big, do more damage, and towards the end of it, it can apply basically, it's 5 hits that do 40 damage each, which is 200 health. So it can basically, if you hit a squishy, they'll die to it, or if you kind of get like a tank or someone a little bit lower. It's not a free execute, but you get a lot of damage reduction while you're doing it. It can take someone out the fight for a little bit as long as you lower them first. And if you're in your big amplified damage state anyway, you're going to be doing better damage. I do want to add from Makoa that there are 2 characters that can do hook abilities, one being Bucky. He can charge up a hook that'll grab somebody in a pretty lenient rate snag and pull them right towards you, depending on how much you charge it up for. And when they get grabbed, they do have a little bit of stun time, so you can do your blast hook stun combo with Bucky. And also with Spider-Man, fun fact, if you don't hit them with your web plus your ability before doing the like zip move, it'll pull them to you instead, which will help, you know, they'll either pull people off the map, bring them into your backline where your teammates can help shoot them, or just displace them in general. Neither of them are Vanguards though, is the one situation, but if you want to play characters that can kind of combo together, a hook ability, there is Spider-Man and Bucky. But I'd say Bucky's a little bit more chunky hook and kill, and then tank-wise you have Hulk. However, I will say, if you want to go more of a sustain, doing damage, pop your shield, help your allies, I would go Doctor Strange, just because Doctor Strange does have the ability to pop shield from man. It's really big, honestly, and his magic shots kind of do bulky damage, just like Makoa's cannonballs. Next up is going to be Raum. Unfortunately for Raum, there's not really a lot of Vanguards that kind of push through and dash through the enemy's backline doing like SMG damage. It's kind of odd. The best I can do for him is suggest Thor, because Thor is a little bit more of a damage dealing tank that can go towards not the backline by itself, but if you're pushing with someone, do that. He also gets like the overshield, like I was saying before, just like a Raum, you get extra health. And since there's not Wrecker in this game, it's not going to get countered by Wrecker, so you can just keep on getting over health as long as you manage your cooldown drops really like wow. Technically a hammer has no ammo, so it's kind of like ignition. I feel like later on in the future we'll get more tanks that match up, but right now he goes with Thor. Next up is going to be Ruckus, and like I was saying with Raum, there's not really a character with a SMG sustain damage ticking ability in the game. The closest I can go for is Penny Parker. Penny Parker can get overshield as long as she's in any of her webs, not just the one that she makes with her nest. So if you place a web down with your stun ability, or a web from you're doing your kind of like zip dash ability, I wouldn't call it a dash, it's more like a zip line. That'll also give her over health she does have dual hands that has infinite ammo, so Ruckus has a lot of bullets in his clip. If you want to do sustained damage to the enemy from a distance or even when they're close by, and you just want to worry about focusing in, locking in, and shooting, I'd go more with Penny Parker. But if you want to have someone who can give themselves a personal shield and do damage on the point, there's also Magneto as well, but I wouldn't recommend that too much. If you want more of like a backline diving character that has shield, you can go with for Venom. But I think the identity of the dual shots that can last a while, have good range, Penny is a little bit more close to that. Next up is going to be Terminus, and for Terminus, a character I think lines up with his playstyle a lot, of being able to move around, melee damage, have a defensive ability that protects more him, would be Captain America. Captain America has a fast movement speed, so you don't have to worry about everyone just running away from you. Cap can just keep the same pace. Most of the characters in this game have the same baseline speed, and even if you can't keep up, Captain literally has a dash. So imagine Terminus with Koga's agility, add into the fact that Captain America can have his own shield. It doesn't siphon and then give you a resource to shoot back. It does have a good HP pool to protect you and your allies, but more importantly, it can reflect damage, kind of like in a random area. You can't like aim it perfectly. Things kind of just bounce off it, but since it can reflect a lot of things, you can use it to counter CCs or just big splash damage ultimates. I don't think, for example, Scarlet Witch, I don't think you can make Scarlet Witch kill the rest of her team with it. As you can see in his trailer, you can bounce back an Iron Man ult and make that hit people. You can bounce back people's ultimates like Groot and make him root his enemy team. So that is a useful ability. It just doesn't consistently shoot out like a Terminus Siphon would. But their identity of jumping around, crashing down, disrupting the backline, pushing in. Captain America's shield also, if there's nearby people, whenever you do your second hit, it'll bounce around. So imagine if every second hit with Terminus, he kind of threw and bounced his axe around. It's kind of that same mentality for it. It's just a little bit shorter range, but he's much faster to compensate for that. Next up is going to be someone who you guys are definitely waiting for, and unfortunately for Khan, there's not really anyone who matches up with him. There's only a couple long-range tanks in general in this game, and Khan is kind of, he's a fat Victor, fat DPS AR person. He doesn't have AR, it's more of a heavy revolver, and he also has a shield on demand. Unfortunately, the best I can think about is if you want shield on demand, you can go with Captain America, because he is more of an off-tank going to back line, disrupting through. I'd say if you want someone to have more of a CC, pick someone out, have your whole team target him and call it out, would be Penny Parker. Penny Parker can throw a stun and it lasts a long time, so instead of having to dash in, stun, stop doing your abilities and shoot them after have your team shoot, you can call it out with Penny. Just say, hey, I'm gonna web this guy, you web them, they're stunned, you're still shooting them because you have plenty of range, everyone else is shooting them because they're a big yellow webbed up person right there, and you usually get the pick off from that. Even on tanks, if they're a little bit low at all, you freeze them with the web, shoot them, your allies are shooting. If you're in a squad, they're going to go down. Penny isn't the greatest off tank though, because you kind of need to set her up, but I'm just going to leave her there for right now, just because it's your best bet that you got. I also wanted to add towards the end of the con section that Bruce Banner's gun actually shoots pretty similarly to Khan. So that works out well for that. If you really want to shoot like Khan, you can always just play only as Bruce Banner. That'd be a horrible idea, but it'd be really funny, and it kind of works out. Next off is going to be Torvald, and once again, there's not really a person that's like one-to-one with him. There are only two characters in the game that provide shields to their allies, and that would be Hulk and Magneto. Hulk can give a shield to anyone nearby to him, and the shields, if they get kind of consumed, like shot down, it gives him ult charge. But I'd say you can also give a targeted shield with Magneto. That's a closer, like, hey, give a bubble effect. The only issue with Magneto is that his shields only last 2.5 seconds. So it's a big chunky shield, however, it's not going to last that long. I believe it's 300 health as of now in the game. So it's decent, kind of like a quick save. It's really useful for disrupting abilities that would target that person. Like if you shield someone that gets hit, that's about to get hit by a Black Panther spear, it won't apply the Vibranium Mark, which means if he tries to dash through them, it won't use the effect. It kind of shuts down Black Panther pretty well. Magneto also has pretty good like range damage, and if you have Scarlet Witch, which will give him that like slicing energy sword move, and I like that a lot. And last but not least is going to be Yaggorath. Ignore the 7 or Betty picture right there. I don't know why it's there. But for Yaggorath, there's not really a big, giant HP character in the game at all times, and rolls around. Yaggorath's a weird character. I'd say your best bet is to go Venom. Venom is really sustainy, but like you can CC him out of things. So just like how Yaggorath, you can kind of like counter her by just shooting her a bunch, getting some percentage damage. I'd say Venom's probably your best shot, and he can sustain up really well with his overshield. If you want to just have someone that just has their own passives that keep them up top, I've heard Groot's a good thing. Groot's kind of like, he's there to absorb damage. So either between his high HP pool, his walls giving him HP, they both kind of work. But if you're going to be more aggressive, use your big HP pool, kind of target out people, I'd say Venom would be your best bet. But it's very even or with them. You can kind of just pick whoever you like a little bit more. But that's going to be our Vanguard list for Marvel Rivals. It's kind of split up. I'd say give the game some more time to add more Vanguards. It's going to happen eventually. And with that, we'll get more people that kind of line up with us. But I think it's a baseline. There's a lot of good tanks in this game. It's fun to use them. But yeah, thank you for watching towards the end. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys soon.